will never again need to throw open your bulging wardrobe and scream, "I've got nothing to wear!"
Would you look at that girl? She is so adorably clueless. We've got...
Probably my waist.
Why is that?
Because it's just a little bit too...
Can we actually chuck it?
Oh, no, yes. Absolutely not.
Why not?
Oh, no.
Gosh.
Why?
Why not?
I adore it. That is hugely sentimental.
We want you to be you, but just in a way that we approve of.
Shame on you.
I look like I have two rather deflated balloons, but that's why I brought this to try out. The underbra.
The thing is, if I was the man you were trying to pick up and I got you in the sack, I'd be so disappointed once I got your kiss off.
Now, okay, you need to get into the mindset of, does a straight man want to constantly bone me every time I leave the house?
Never knew your ass was so huge.
Oh, you're the one that's upset. I'm not upset.
Do I look upset to you?
I just get really happy when they finally let her shop.
To come out.
Because I thought it was so glamorous on the camera. You come on, you know the rules. Out, out. Look at that face.
Yeah. We're being too nice to do it.
I'm getting a bit off.
Much harder work than I thought. Isn't she the most exhausting person we've ever worked with, Suze?
First thing that I'm thinking is, what will other people think?
I think in a way it brought home to me how much that I really don't like my body or myself to a degree.
About depression.
No,
Susanna, stop it!
No, really, stop it.
Well, now just go in there and just get those up and push them in their holes. And
Stop it.
oh, these aren't such good pull-ups, are they? These ones. No, they aren't such good pull-ups, are they? So should we just get rid of them?
Oh.
Just get them off your
That
feet.
is so you will never, ever wear them again.
Yeah.
Stop it.
How do you feel you look?
Well, I'm a bit worried it's Kelly Osbourne.
Or dodgy, one of your dodgy areas.
Are you paying for the therapy after this, Susanna?
Let me ask you a very fair question. What do you do successfully? Quickly.
Hello lovers, welcome back to my channel. You can tell what we're talking about today, can't you? I'm wearing this wonderful Chanel jumper just because Trini said this.
It's Chanel. It's like,
It is
you know, it's like
Chanel.
nails down a blackboard to me, Chanel. I would like to go and get every one of these jumpers that's ever been made and burn them.
Of course, I was going to save it from a second-hand charity shop because that's what I do. I am a second-hand queen, yes. Now, if you missed last week's video, it was on the Y2K show Popular, which, honestly, a lot of fun. It took me the longest time to do, though. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you haven't watched it already, then you can watch it at the end of this. You're so welcome. Now, for this video, I actually asked you on my polls and also on Instagram over there. If you're not following me, it's just here. It's always linked down below as well. Of your opinions of these fashion police styling shows and the impacts it had on you. And, not too surprisingly, a lot of you actually said that the 2000s, it was worse. And it did have an impact on you. And I've heard quite a few different stories, honestly, over the course of the 2000s videos and then also the course of just these polls. I honestly thought that things were worse in the 2000s, but that doesn't really mean that the impacts aren't still there today. Most of you actually said how you had this pressure to not outfit repeat, how you had this pressure to look a particular way, and how you felt like you had too many problem areas that were limiting you from wearing things, and just the overall sense of judgment and shamefulness, a lot of feelings of shame for not being able to keep up with trends, not being able to actually do the things that they were wearing and all of that. So this did even impact just the viewers, not the poor participants on the shows who were getting grabbed and thrusted about the place.
Need to
Pull them up.
excuse me. We do know each other quite well now.
Is this your good bra, Sue?
This is my Rigby bra.
But this is not, you need a wonder bra. Look at the tightness of this waistband. Look at it, this great big roll of flab. And you say this is the best bra you've got on.
Suze, let's see it. Can you just take it off? Let's have a look, because it looks like your tits droopy in it.
Now, I have watched many a makeover show for this because we don't just focus on one episode, we have a wholesome, holistic view here, don't we? You know that about me by now, hopefully. And I've also reread and made a whole bunch of different notes on my Trini and Susanna book. I did have two, but then someone that I lent it to kept it, and so my faith and trust in humanity has just gone. I do have to have a little bit of a trigger warning here if you couldn't tell from that montage at the start, because, you know, yay, the 2000s sucked. Got fatphobia, ableism, ageism, transphobia, homophobia, ED mentions, and also a a lot of questionable fashion choices and an abundance of Karen haircuts. You voted for this look, and this is by the wonderful creator. I will have their Instagram link down below. I adore their work. I'm always inspired by their work. Whilst my look can never be as good as this, I still really like the way this look turned out. So, obviously, without any further ado, everything that's used on my face is cruelty-free, vegan, not owned by parent companies that test on animals. It's always linked down below, along with other sources. And let's get right on into the fashion disasters, shall we? These shows always focused on shopping, showing the prices of clothes, the joys of retail therapy, people getting praised for looking good. Really just showing off the way that shopping can make you feel, how it's like a retail therapy. Did this actually have an impact on increasing consumerism? Or was consumerism on the up and up already, and then these shows actually help people not waste money by buying only things that suited them and flattered them? Because honestly, it seems that clothing waste has only increased, and the stats actually back that up too. And across these shows, there's always a lot of mentions of people wearing clothes from years ago and how shameful that is, how they don't have enough new stuff in their wardrobe, how they've seen them in that heaps of times, and how that's a bad thing.
This says, I don't buy any clothes now. I bought them all in the 80s.
Ooh, climate crisis is just knocking at the door right now.
Leave you wallowing in the mess you've made. You're screwed. Thank you. Bye.
Now, basically berating people for not being fashionable. And of course, one of the biggest faux pas that happened was if you wore the same outfit as someone else.
Bitch stole my look.
Mary J. Blige versus Drew Barrymore and Catherine Malandrino.
I like the dress, but Mary looks like she's a baked potato in that.
I love that dress on Katy Perry, and I also love it when I put it on Christina Aguilera with the same necklace 5 months ago for a magazine cover.
Amber in the red dress that Cher had worn previously. She doesn't do much to change the look apart from styling her hair in a beehive-esque do, and as a result, it comes off as more costumey than when Cher wore it.
Wow, talk about always wanting to pit women against each other, huh? Isn't it great? Now granted, Trini and Susanna would say things that it's not about being fashionable, it's about having your own sense of style and being true to yourself.
Portly, frumpy woman, like something I never wanted ever to become. And I want back the size 10 of my wedding day.
Oh no, it's not about size, you see. It's the clothes that you're wearing aren't doing you any justice.
However, as evidence shows us, including in their book, which you can probably see in the corner over there, it wasn't necessarily all about having a more sustainable, long-term style that you could stick to. But of course, we will get to Trini and Susanna. I've said before that you can be a fan and critique something at the same time, and sometimes that just goes right over people's heads. Look, I was a Trini and Susanna stan. Genuinely, I took their books with me when I worked in retail. I worked in retail for 5 years. I worked at a fabric shop for a couple of years, part-time at school, and I went into retail full-time. I would take these books like they were a Bible, and I would spend heaps of time with people, helping them with their colours and stuff, so I've definitely benefited from their knowledge that they've shared, and that's why I'm pointing out issues with it as well as the positives, because we're not just hating on things here, right? We're providing a fulsome, wholesome critique. Now, Trini and Susanna weren't the only stylists to the frumpy though. Like, there were the kibbie body types which came about in the 80s, which I only learned about from Tiffany Ferg when she was talking about it. In order to look good, money had to be spent, time had to be spent on curating looks, on upkeep. Because this all comes back to the facade of always having to look good and not letting yourself go. Because of course, relaxing and being comfortable, that won't really get you a man now, will it? Which is what a lot of this actually comes back to. Even when reading the book over there, which I will include some excerpts of at the end.
She has a wedding dress already in her wardrobe, would just put a man off straight away.
I'm told most single people meet men walking the dog, but I don't know why, but I've had no luck.
That wouldn't attract a tramp. Despite having a shape that some women might envy, Jane thinks her slim figure makes her look like a boy, so she's given up even trying to look girly. It's so bereft of glamour, sex appeal and femininity, this wardrobe. I'm not sure if we're in a kind of wildlife safari park or Sylvester Stallone's mother's wardrobe.
A lot of it really does come down to how to bag a man. And you are talking to someone who was a huge fan of the Millionaire Matchmaker TV show, so I've definitely had to unlearn a lot of stuff.
You guys lied to me. What an
Now, there were so many of these different makeover shows. They came in all different forms, ranging from the more simple to the extreme. And I'm going to be trying to focus on just the apparel ones, because you do get more extreme ones, like the most extreme I would say being the Swan and Extreme Makeover. But then you've also got 10 years younger in 10 days, and the casualness towards getting plastic surgery, non-invasive procedures. Hey, you have to scrub up better, okay? People think you look old, and looking old is one of the worst things, especially if you're a woman. And we wonder why we got such a casual attitude towards having plastic surgery, which is a video that I actually want to talk about, including surgery tourism. I want to do a video on that, so let me know if you're keen for it. So much is about actually making women feminine, and a lot of critique is given to them if they look too masculine or too powerful. Again, a lot of this comes down to heteronormativity and actually wanting to attract a man.
Just, it's non-feminine, non-sexy, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
So awful. I mean, that is real butch.
She does look like a man in it.
She does look like she is the man in it. Have you had sex?
Yeah, that's a personal question though.
Are you gay?
No.
You're not gay?
No.
Quite masculine clothes. Yes, seriously. And this just makes you more feminine.
Take this seriously for
And you have a fear of being feminine.
Listen, I wear a skirt. This is feminine. I just
The way
wear
you wear a
tights.
skirt is so masculine.
I really want to see you in a heel.
See, I look at that, I see broken leg.
I know you do, but you've got to give it a try. Boring, boring, boring. Begin to look like a Roman centurion about to go into battle. Suddenly, this fat becomes bulky, hulking, unattractive, masculine muscles. And it's just not a good look. I don't want to look like a man. I want to look like a woman.
By not only her desperate boyfriend, but her entire family.
Bland.
Dull.
Scruffy. Practicality rules with Jane, and it's not really what she looks like, it's whether she's comfortable.
I just can't stop looking at you with your makeup on, because you are so beautiful, Jane. I cannot tell you the difference in you.
There are times I say to her, no, you shouldn't wear that really.
I mean, what sex is that? It's not a woman. We know you've come from nowhere. You know, no, but literally, you have, in terms of beauty and grooming and wearing pretty feminine clothes, you were just like right down at the bottom of the scale.
Looking at them with a male hat on, and I don't fancy any of them.
The male gaze is something that Trinity and Susanna and most, if not all, of these shows actually use. I actually watched an episode where they focused on getting single women to vie for them to be able to get a makeover, where they had all of these women send in tapes saying just how desperate they were to be able to find a man and how much help they needed in this area, and they just can't keep a man, blah, 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 blah. And so the male gaze is used on purpose, and they give their opinions very freely.
Sweaty
very freely. And I tell you what, there's an awful lot of slut shaming throughout, even though the entire purpose is to entice a man, but you can't be seen to be too sexy. But they want to have an emphasis on sexy without being the wrong kind of there's a lot.
Look how big the gusset is, for God's sake. I mean, a woman needs more camouflage down there, especially after having a child.
You are not that girl. You're not that girl anymore.
Wild like me.
She's very sexy and raunchy, this one, but that wouldn't scare some men, just to see kind of continual produce on display. Maybe that's why you haven't found Mr. Right.
Yeah.
Because of the way you dress.
Yeah.
Because you look like a bit tarty. Maybe your mum is right. She dresses like a hooker.
Literally, like that from The Ugly Truth. It's literally this.
You have to be two people, the saint and the sinner, the librarian and the stripper.
I can't believe how cute I look. I know. You know what? This is like the cutest we've ever looked. Oh, it's definitely the cutest.
But one of the things that disappointed me the absolute most is the fact that they actually strip away the individuality of the women. And I know it doesn't seem like the absolute worst thing to be like, oh, just try this on. We don't want you wearing that anymore. Try this, try this, try this. It's definitely not torture to have to try on something that's a bit out of your comfort zone. Sometimes that can be really good. But then when things that you like are berated in really negative ways.
I think I look all right. What is it with you? No. Before you get any of this money, Liz, you've got to hand up. Listen, you've got to hand over your wardrobe, your life, and these. We can't get our hands on those.
Are you just after sex? Beg your pardon? Are you just after sex?
Certainly not.
Okay, so
we don't
then...
get much of that at eat.
I just wanted to kind of get a little sneak of this. What's that all about, you cheeky thing? What is that all about?
Actually, I don't want to be here. I'm quite happy going through life in jeans and T-shirts.
I don't like the top at all.
Why?
I think the pattern's horrible.
Unless it's controlled by us. How you dress so that you attract the right man, but also that you become that person, Lisa. Put any pressure on you, but please don't let me down.
Drag them, kicking and screaming, into girly heaven with...
It's top, and I hated it, and I said I would never wear it in a million years.
Yeah.
I think it goes better with my hair colour now.
Different person, it's a huge transformation.
But a lot of these shows really feel like you're just having this 2000s societal gaze put upon you whether you want it or not, and pointing out how much you're failing at meeting the standards set by that. All of the women kind of come out looking sort of similar, like just adapting the different shapes to try and fall into this ideal for what a man wants. Nipped in at the waist, definitely showing off a bit of boobs, definitely in a heel for sure, and weirdly Karen haircuts. But of course the thing is, I used to live by their rules and I was just as scathing as them, if I'm completely honest. I really was very cutting.
Sure.
No. That wasn't a question.
And there are some golden rules for makeup that'll stop you going out looking more Widdicombe than Winslet.
Comparisons and fatphobia. Now, even in the nicer shows, well, the apparently nicer ones, the fatphobia is on massive display. Like, there was this one exercise that was done where they lined up all of these women based on the size of their thighs. And then they got the victim, so they got the participant to actually line herself up with where she thought her thighs were in comparison to all of these other women. This Joy, as she gets told that she's wrong and has to move down the line to point out that she's slimmer and that her thighs are slimmer than some of these other women, and she gets put amongst the young girls and she's kind of towards the smaller end. The joy and the laughter that she gives, can you imagine what it's like being those other women? I do understand the exercise to address people's like distorted body image, I fully get that, but the way that it's done to actually literally make women into objects of measure, I don't like that. The fatphobia is present constantly. Not only in terms of like people like Trinny and Susanna grabbing at themselves, but grabbing at others.
There isn't a single woman who can't find one fault with her figure. But we can all learn to hide what we don't like. You should be ashamed of yourself, girl.
Dieting, the exercise is not working. I've got to be much harder with myself.
James and the Giant Peach.
Do you? That horrible flying flabby bit down there. And those are fat deposits. Can you believe it? Ugh. But in this, I am so relieved to be the shape I am. I mean, that is true. Look at this. Look at this.
Okay, all
it's
right,
all
you've made your point.
around. Your legs are exploding from the bottom of that jacket. All you see is this great chunky saddlebag. But then, oh my God, I can't bear to see it. Look at your bottom. Your bottom is just dribbling down the back of your legs. So we really are seeing the shortness of those little stumps.
It's very nice.
Can you do it up, or is your waist too big?
Just checking. Go on, go on, try.
Back rolls.
And the thing is, this still happens today, despite the body positivity movement, despite the body acceptance movement. This still very much is a vibe today, sadly. When you get approached with, what do you not like about yourself? And the focus is on hiding all of the flaws with you because you're deemed as like your arms are bad, your legs are bad, your tummy's bad, but like your skin on your face is nice. Oh, we don't like your necks, we'll try and cover that up. Oh, you've got a well-turned ankle. A well-turned ankle is a great thing in comparison to this laundry list of all of these flaws with you.
Which part of your body do you least like?
My hips and my stomach.
So they always go hand in hand, hips and stomach, don't they?
Which part of the body do you not like?
My stomach.
Why?
Too fat.
Let's have a little look.
It doesn't go in far enough.
You've got a nice waist. Just a bit pudgy there.
Heels. Let's face it, if there were no short asses in this world, heels just wouldn't have been invented.
The cheek, the nerve, the gall, the audacity and the gumption.
Really flabby arms. They're horrible up here.
I'm the same, I can't bear them. I cover them all the time.
Awful. I hate it in summer because I always want to wear strappy tops and my arms are just so big and horrible.
So
I never show my arms, never. I hate them.
My stomach, probably.
Why?
Because it should be a little bit flatter.
This is your one dodgy area. Okay, this is what we have to keep covered all the time. And your upper arm.
I've had it, and you know what I've had? It.
By leading with critique, it creates more insecurity rather than less. It's not exactly empowering to say that you've got thunder thighs. Not in a world of the 2000s in particular, where the size of your thighs was always seen to be the bad thing. And they would ambush people on the street asking this. They'd get people to write in telling them what bits they hate about themselves. I mean, I do understand, like, trying to make people feel better about themselves, but then I'm also like, couldn't you lead with the question, what do you like about yourself?
I'm just showing my arms. There's too much of that flesh being exposed. Oh, look at that relief. And also because the fabric is kind of fine and quite clinging, we're seeing your cellulite through.
I've also had people say across my 2000s series and also in my posts that I made about this, how this actually aggravated their own issues around food and ED and comparisons to others, and how this kind of like ate them up if they weren't measuring up to what they were seeing and what they were being told. Because the thing is, even though Trini and Susanna weren't supermodels, they were both actually quite slim, and they were grabbing at each other, pointing out like flabby bits all the time. And when you're seeing this of people that were actually below average, that's just not going to leave a good impression. If you're seeing grown women that are telling you like this is how you should look good, and it's like, oh, got all of these problem areas, all of this stuff makes you look even worse than you already do. You need to cover that up. A lot comes down to covering up your flabby bits, to age appropriateness, and only skinny people can actually show off that much flesh. And then also the shapewear issue. Okay, I need to rant very quickly.
Every man
all about
wants
the
to
cupping.
go like that, or
Yeah.
woman.
Exactly.
It's just asking to be
But you know,
crushed.
I have a secret weapon on.
Yeah.
Actually. Magic knickers, look.
They're fantastic.
I mean,
for the
look
bum.
at that. That is bandages on my ass.
Because the shapewear issue really bothers me, because all of them do this. They say, see, this is your best friend, ladies, by wearing this hideous, like, huge garment that goes up to your boobs, down your thighs. This creates the perfect shape. You don't even have to lose weight, but this just creates a slimmer look, and you're fitting into the right proportions. They did this with Trini with her terrible saddlebags, which weren't even a real problem, honestly. They did this to people putting on jeans, and the jeans were actually terrible. It's like, now you can wear these jeans, and it's like they were still creating a muffin top, which is awful phrasing anyway, and they're like, okay, so you have to wear this for everyday wear. This isn't even just for an event. Like, you can understand needing to wear special underwear for a special event or something. No, just every day. In order to wear your jeans, my lovelies, you have to wear shapewear. I can't. And they do say it's not about being slimmer, it's not about losing weight to look good. You can look good just as you are. Just if we streamline you and trick the eyes and do all this other stuff to make it seem like you're not you. To me, clothes should fit you. You shouldn't have to fit into clothes. If weight gain happens, as it can do, weight gain, weight loss can happen to a variety of different reasons, right? You should get clothes that fit you, not you trying to fit into them and using them as a judgment of worth. If your jeans don't button up anymore, what's wrong with that? That's fine. You know what you can do? Donate them and go buy something second hand, because that's a great way to get a circular economy rather than keeping hold of like the pants of shame or the dress of 10 years ago that I used to fit into and I looked amazing in. It's like, you can actually let other people have that joy instead. And you can get different bits of joy and create this wonderful, like, new lot of memories in different clothes. Because, hey, you know what? We don't just use Polaroid cameras anymore. We're always taking pictures in the clothes that we're wearing. It's not like a thing where you have to wear the same thing.
Here. You're gonna need this. Your scrunchie? My lucky scrunchie. It helped me pass Spanish.
Now let's talk about ageism, shall we?
Check okay?
Lots of videos from people who really want a makeover is because they feel like they've lost a part of themselves. And typically this comes from women saying this.
I'm older and everything's beginning to go south, really.
I think you're a little bit past it for a hood. You know, you look like you should have a little mushroom to sit on.
Slender, and you're not supposed to look big. You're supposed to look all nice and pretty and skinny and just really, just not like this.
Though actually, sometimes this comes from people in their lives that nominate them in this very callous way without them knowing, saying just how awful they look, not even just their loved ones, their bosses.
I can't believe my sister, my best friend, could do this to me.
First time dressed like that, what would you think?
If I was curb crawling, I'd probably ask if she'd accept 20 quid.
What she does is meet guys that she ends up supporting and helping them out and looking after them. And she could really do with someone to look after her a bit.
I'm watching you come back on the train of an evening and falling fast asleep with our cameras filming you.
I hate this.
And you have been well and truly set up by your family because they believe, Julie, you're in need of a total style overhaul.
If I had a boss ever nominate me for a show, telling me I didn't look good enough, oh my god, I would sue them. Now look, this can often happen to women, in particular mothers, and especially if you're over the age of 40, because of course that is the age where you no longer exist in society. You become invisible, you'll miss the cellophane, and there is no coming back from it because you're no longer breedable at that age. There is no point of having you around anymore.
I just don't feel like an attractive human being.
I think Dorothy looks great most of the time. She looks lovely. She doesn't think so, but I do.
Now, I've already talked about this in my ageism video and the very valid reasons to fear getting older, because honestly it's not a fear without reason, and that's something we'll be talking about a bit more next week actually. The ageism on plain display in these shows makes me very uncomfortable, honestly. They oftentimes don't even have to use a full phrase of mutton dressed as lamb, they just say muttony.
Oh no, I don't...
Muttony? Bit muttony?
It's like, oh, it's really gross. Like, they have a real disgust in any woman over the age of 20 wearing something that's a bit more revealing, maybe even showing a midriff or showing a bit too much thigh. Like, how disgusting that is and off-putting. You can't go putting it all out there once you're past a certain age. And again, with the slut-shaming aspect of it too.
Which is... You look what can only be described as an embarrassment.
Oh my god. How many ways do you need to be ashamed of your body? Now, this is one thing that I remember as well, which is also in the book, but I still remember this woman with grey hair, this long, beautiful grey hair, and they said, oh, you're trying to cling on to your youth, it looks disgusting, you look like a witch, like an old hag. Like, that sort of messaging was coming through. I couldn't find the right episode online because there aren't as many online at the moment. But the inherent ageism and problem with having long hair if you're older and you have grey hair, and it's like, no, you're only allowed to have a short haircut. Talk about the fears of like why it's scary to get older if like you can't even wear your hair the way that you want to. Like, you are watching someone that probably will have pink hair as I go grey, honestly.
We'll have you feeling better in no time.
Now let's talk about the healing, one of my absolute favourite parts of these shows.
You are going to feel 1,000 times better about yourself.
You know, I've taken her body on a hot date tonight in central London, and she's pulling in the crowds.
She's got nice hips, nice boobs, and she's got a waist as well.
I think she's quite beautiful.
And you're going to look in that mirror and you're going to say, my name's Debbie, and regardless of what I look like, I'm worthy.
I feel more me than what I've looked at over recent years.
I don't think you've ever spent this amount of time pampering yourself, Judy.
No, this is true.
Some can be so healing in that way, helping people who typically give so much of themselves to others, actually spending time on themselves, for themselves, with zero qualms. Women are told to be selfless yet beautiful, something which honestly is not actually achievable. But the thing is, you actually get called selfish and vain if you do enjoy spending any time on taking care of yourself or whatever it is that you actually enjoy. That is incredibly selfish of you. How dare you have interests other than taking care of others?
What's happened has kind of brought out the fun in me again, and the sort of, it's the zest, isn't it? It's the sort of, yeah, it's the zest.
So I really do like the impact of these shows for these exact reasons, because it actually empowers people to actually take some time for themselves, reevaluate what they want to look like, what they want to get from life, what life they want to lead, because actually gifting yourself time is one of the most empowering things that you can do in order to be able to realize who you want to be, how you want to spend your time, where your values are, everything. It's not just about the vanity, if you want to call it that, of looking good. It's, even if it is for vain reasons, in a society that really does value youth and beauty above all else, I can understand why you'd want to actually spend some time on that, because especially as women, you're taught that from the first thing when you're little is about being pretty and the importance of that. For mothers or people that have been typically in positions of caring for others, it's actually giving yourself that time to reevaluate and getting to know yourself again. You know, I think that that is incredibly positive. It's one of the reasons that I really like the revamped Queer Eye show, because that really does focus on this transformational aspect in a very like kind sort of way. Oh, and honestly, anytime you watch it, you'll cry. And also these shows showing people the importance of that and being able to almost live vicariously through and have like this sort of cathartic experience by watching it. Very positive. It's not a bad thing to want to look good. The whole point is about looking good in a way that is empowering to you and not having to like fit into a box. I think that's one of the most important takeaways that I think that we've learned these days for sure. It's more about that inner confidence and that gumption. It shouldn't have to come from your family or friends or even your boss nominating you to get this makeover thing. It should actually be able to be self-driven.
Most women in this country have stretch marks, whether that's by childbirth or losing weight, putting on weight, just growing up to be a woman. And in fact, you see up on this window, do you want to read out what that stat says?
Yeah. 78% of women have stretch marks.
Right, you are part of that community.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal.
What about the impacts even now? There are entire YouTube channels dedicated to teaching you how to dress better for your shape, how to not look frumpy, all sorts of stuff. And similarly, we've got people criticizing other people's fashions, whether it's done in a way which is actually constructive and goes into the history of it and meaning behind it, like Modern Girls, Haute La Mode, like there are others, but then there are others which are done in just a way to make people feel bad. I'm going to try not to be so petty and not name them, but you probably know some of who they are.
Repeller dress. And for those of you who do not know what a man repeller is, there's actually a blog called like that, and it's basically fashion that is not aimed to attract men. This is more fashion that is made for fashionistas to be artsy, creative, expressive, and so on.
Fine, you could be art. Art, shakack, boom. Oh, shakack, art. Did somebody mention art?
Consumerism and clothing waste is an issue which is only on the rise, and of course with online shopping being like people's almost preferred method, especially for younger generations, it means that we have a lot more clothing waste. And of course you know that when you send something back, if it doesn't fit, typically goes in the trash, and there are companies like Shein who are the worst. It's really hard to know if this is about empowering people or bullying people for entertainment whilst pushing for consumerism, because like I said at the start, there's always prices on display, there's always the benefits of shopping shown, not really about like being more inventive with your wardrobe. Granted, Glock did do more of this, but it's definitely about new, being on trend, keeping up with fashion. And this again comes into that very consumerist mindset from the 2000s, which a lot of us haven't escaped from today. I can't go saying that I'm completely immune to this either. But of course you have to get people to watch the shows, right? And not everybody wants to go on this emotional journey every week. So what better way than to roast people and get them to go in a 360-degree mirror, which they all dreaded doing, and gleefully laughing at them and judging them the whole time as they get picked apart floor by floor, and every outfit, every choice that they've ever made just gets put on display for you to poke fun at. But that was of course all for the very generous price of £2,000 to spend on an entirely new wardrobe, whilst like most of their wardrobe actually got thrown in the bin.
Colour with black, don't ever put colour with black. What do you do? I've never been pushed around as much before. I've never had clothes ripped off of me and pulled and tugged, and sizes 3 times too small for me try to stretch over my breast.
Slither of liver. It makes you look very thin. Yeah. I think it makes you look too thin, Jane.
I just always think it's important to reevaluate like what things were and why we get to think the way that we do and why we've got so much of this internalized. And honestly, I'm really glad with a lot of the things that I've been seeing now, like I mentioned before, the body positivity, the body acceptance movement, and then also now we've got these influencers that are actually really just showing their own style in their own ways that work for them. I just think it's really empowering to have people from all different walks of life being able to show that yes, you can look great wearing whatever you want to wear and have your own personal style without having to abide by looking at like this typical mold that they always transform people into. Same as I think it's really good to have so many people get really into secondhand fashion, upcycling, making your own clothes. Like I used to sew, I would like to get back into it, but maybe when we eventually get to leave Auckland where there are things all the time, but that would be lovely. One of the biggest takeaways that I took from when I worked in retail, because I catered to pretty much exclusively women and girls, so many of them would say, I can't wear that, oh I'm too fat, no I can't show my arms, I can't do this. Then they can't like get past their own insecurities that have been gifted to them by shows like this, by the male gaze, by people constantly judging them, because it was a very judgmental decade, the 2000s, otherwise I wouldn't have made 3 videos on it. So much of that got internalized to kind of destroy people, and the impacts of that I don't think are fully gone. Just makes me sad how we got so limited because of this callous judgment that we were not only watching for entertainment but then giving to each other and then absorbing all of that ourselves, because obviously like a lot of the insecurities that you have you project onto other people, and it just kind of breaks my heart a little that so many people went through life like not able to actually feel comfortable. And so that's kind of why I do this sort of stuff, because you know I like to make people feel better if I can, and I hope that this has helped you in some sort of way. And so that ostracization because you couldn't fit in, and the impacts on not only myself but like I said in the comment sections, there's just a lot of people that dealt with that. No, I don't want that. I just want you to feel happy in your own skin, happy in your own style. I did say that we'd go through some of the book and I know that they would hate this. I used the Hell's Pizza receipt that I tore up because I'm a classy bird. If you're looking to meet Mr. Right, get rid of those clothes that make you look like you've always got your period. You never know when you're going to meet him, so even the most casual outfit must be well thought out. Mr. Right might be walking down the supermarket aisle. I actually used to only leave the house if I had my makeup done, even if it was literally popping across the road to a supermarket that we lived right next to. I always had to have my makeup done, I always had to have a full outfit on, so if my mum needed something I'd be like, okay, well you've got to give me an hour to get ready to go out. Make do amend only if there's a war on. You're talking to someone that likes to mend their clothes. I just love the fact that they're throwing a whole bunch of clothes in a bin in this picture. I think that that is really, really empowering and wonderful to see. This is one thing I really did like. Neither of them are wearing things that suit them, and so they encouraged you to like swap clothes with your friends, which I think is great messaging. Look at this picture of Susanna. Jesus, what a shocker. Susanna's face in that necklace. Even without the necklace, it's a horrifying example of age catching up like a stealth bomber. One doesn't often see oneself from this angle. Our first piece of advice is to avoid the side mirror view. It's forced Susanna into thinking it might be time for Botox. Just lovely. We hate aging that much. This entire paragraph was very problematic, saying that cellulite is just fat, and let's start with the diet. It's a documented fact that certain foods and drinks will aid and abet the development of cellulite. Avoid all caffeine, fizzy drinks, buttery croissants, pastry, and drink water, flush. And then they've got an Evian bottle of water in that picture as well, which is a problem. We love age shaming people. Oh, this was part of the make sure that you look your age, because obviously you can't be a woman over the age of 30 with long hair. Living, breathing proof. I like having long hair, thank you. Going grey gracefully means, of course, going from pure grey to then adding in a bunch of colour, because this is going by their standards. Where does she look like she's got the rounder face? Because honestly, the way that they cut her hair to only like fall around here really does actually emphasize just her face. They should have kept the they should have definitely kept those layers longer. And you can't have curly hair, you have to have straight hair. That came across as well in the shows. Nails are a bad thing as well, especially if you've got colourful nails, especially if you ever have chip nails and you're talking to someone that does still religiously paint my nails every single week. It's a ritual though for me, as opposed to like a point of shame. But yeah, like having chip nails is not ladylike. What was it that they said about it? Oh yeah, you don't have to cultivate long red talons. Leave them to the beauty queens for scratching each other's eyes out. Yeah, we love stereotyping. That's great. As a 32-year-old lady, I love this. The older you are, the less makeup you should look like you're wearing, even though it might take you longer to apply. Goodbye, creativity. Do you remember the wide belts of the 2000s? Isn't it great? And do you remember the skinny scarves? Oh, it's just gorgeous. Like I said, These two have actually evolved a lot, so I don't really have a huge problem. It's just so much of the mindset that was gifted to us by people like this. It's caused a few issues. Anyway, lovelies, I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, wear a mask, all that good stuff. Bye.